What's up, everybody? I am here with my good buddy Simon. You probably know Simon from the band Nightmare. If not, now you do. Simon has brought something really interesting here. This is a collaboration with, I'm gonna let you say it because I always mess up the name.
Lichtlaerm Audio from Berlin, Germany.
And so how did this collaboration end up happening with Daniel?
Yeah, so it's a distortion pedal called Total Distortion Worship. I was on a tone chasing journey earlier this year, and at the time I saw Daniel's pedals pop up on YouTube left and right, basically. Turns out he is from my hometown, Berlin, Germany. I just hit him up out of the blue on Instagram and I was like, hey man, I'm trying to find a certain tone. I don't know how to achieve it. Can you recommend anything? What do you think I should try? He ended up sending me the Gehenna, but also the Ritual. Once I tried his pedals, I was just blown away by them. And it was like the first time I felt like, oh, shit, these pedals actually sound amazing, and I always had issues with distortion pedals prior to, to his pedals. I kept combining pedals of his, and at some point I was like, hey man, let's create like a fairly unique and nasty distortion circuit, but let's couple it with an EQ, a boost, a noise gate, so it's kind of like an all-in-one solution with like a very unique distortion circuit and preset, so to speak.
How do you like to run it?
It's first and foremost, it's a distortion pedal, but it has an integrated boost, an integrated noise gate, and also an integrated 5-band EQ, as you can see, a fader EQ. I like to run it in front of an amp, either into a clean channel or preferably into a slightly saturated channel.
And we kind of discovered this while we were messing around with this pedal earlier. EQ seems to be active. It's very interactive with itself. That sounds weird. It's very interactive with the other bands that are on here. I noticed a lot, like you can dump the EQ down and give yourself a little bit more headroom, or you could boost it if you really want like an HM2 sort of thing, which is really neat. It gives you like a lot of flexibility there. And we also have a boost on this pedal as well.
Yes, you can only run the boost when the pedal is activated. The boost has a range knob, and you can go from either like a classic treble or mid-range boost all the way to a full range boost. Either a more full and like, sludgy tone, or you can dial it back and make it more tight and modern sounding. It corresponds really well with the cut knob, which is kind of like a signature feature of Daniel's pedals. That kind of helps you achieve the same thing. If you turn it all the way down and you have a really loose and dirty and warm kind of distortion character, and as you dial it up more, it becomes more and more tight.
And where can people pick this pedal up?
So what you see is the first edition of the pedal. In this finish there will only be 100, and you can only get them at CultFX.com and lichtlaermaudio.com. Once those are all sold, we will release it in a standard finish. It'll look a little bit different, so yeah, get in on the first one. Don't miss out.
Okay, now that you've heard a little bit about this pedal and you heard how it was birthed into the world, let's plug it in and rip it. Alright guys, I have the Total Distortion Worship Pedal plugged into this Marshall Origin 50. Now, if you're familiar with the Marshall Origin 50 amp, then maybe you know why I chose this particular amplifier. But it's a very good amplifier for distortion pedals, I feel like. And also, if you know this amplifier, you will know that it's sounding like this. It's pretty extreme. This amp does not sound like this normally. Let me turn this off and show you what this sounds like. No distortion pedal. It's just, this pedal just transforms this amp into something really like wild and super high gain. This Marshall amplifier does not sound modern or high gain at all, but this pedal definitely transforms it. Let's turn the boost off for now, and we'll set that back up to noon. Let's just set everything to noon, yeah? I will try a few different guitars with this pedal as well, just just to do our due diligence here. Let's just set this something like that. So we do have that built-in gate. That gate is doing a great job, by the way. Like, there's no noise right now. If I turn it down, there's a little bit of noise. Not much. There is the pedal with these settings. Now, let's go back to the amp here. I like running a distortion pedal in front of a clean amplifier. I like the amp to sound a little dull. Because I find that if you like have too much treble with the amp, it'll be way too much by the time you click on the distortion. But don't take my word for it. You can try it yourself if you want to. Let's turn this guy back on and mess with it. Let's turn the gain all the way down. So this is just like a standard boost almost, with like no EQ enhancements or anything. I think it sounds pretty good too. Let's turn the volume down a little bit and let's turn the gain at like 50%. I really like the way this is breaking up. It's very like warm, very nice. Now, of course, we can shape this a lot. We have 5 EQ bands here, and I believe these EQ bands are active because the way they shape the distortion is really interesting and sort of unique. And this is the thing that I noticed with this pedal is there's such a huge variety of like different distortion textures that you can get with it that you can go pretty deep into the woods, you know, and maybe dial in something that you might not like. Like it might be a little bit too harsh, but a little bit too HM2-ish, for example. Like if I go. Kind of crazy, right? So we don't need to do that. Now, I left a big bottom end on this distortion. A little bit out of control, a little like woofy. We're gonna go with this cut knob and we're actually gonna sculpt that booty out. Now we can adjust the level and adjust how much we're sending in to the front of the origin amp, and this is where I will show you the gain knob on the amp. This is probably similar if you're running this in front of like really any amp with a gain knob. There's like some synergy between the level output on the pedal and the gain input on the amp. Let me just show you. Pretty good bass right there. Now, speaking of bass, there is still quite a lot, and I am cutting the low end out a lot. So let's dial this back a little bit. It's very nice. It's very interesting. And like, I've played a lot of different distortion pedals through this head, and this one just like shapes it in a way that I haven't been able to with another distortion pedal, you know? So I think the name Total Distortion Worship is very fitting because, like I said, you can really like sculpt the gain structure in a way that is just really unique. Now, you notice that on the pinch harmonics there, not the same as if we had like a boost running in front of it. Now, we have a built-in boost, so we don't need to necessarily run another pedal in front of it, but let's just use the built-in boost here. It's at noon. Both the controls for the boost, so the boost knob and the range, are set at noon. That tightened us up quite a bit too. We can dial back this low cut. Sounds pretty cool, man. Let's turn the boost up here. And you can hear with the range all the way to the left here, it's more like tight. And if we go to the right, we get a lot more low end, which I like. So I'm gonna leave it over there to the right. And yeah, man, we're just like turning this amp that's not modern or high gain at all into a modern high gain metal amp. Okay, I think it sounds pretty good in C standard with my Jackson Virtuoso. It has a JB in the bridge, but let's try it with something a little bit different. Like, let's try it in much lower tuning with a much higher output pickup. Okay, this is my Agile something or other. It has Seymour Duncan blackouts in it. It has a 27-inch scale length. It's tuned to drop G sharp. Dude, this sounds great with a low tuned guitar, man. It just really is like, it's tight and percussive still. We have the gate in there, just cuts out the squeals. When I used to play live with this guitar, I had to run 2 noise gates with it all the time because these pickups are so hot. But this gate's taking care of it, no problem. And this amp is not quiet. This amp is very loud right now. Like, my watch keeps reminding me that it's too loud in here, but and we can get it super tight with that cut knob also if we want to do like really percussive. And we're still really articulate in the high end too. You can hear all these notes ring out really well. Just really impressed, and not just because these guys are my friends. I just think that they made something that's really cool. It's really cool to me that I can get this sound out of this amp. It's kind of crazy, you know? Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Shout out to Simon and Daniel for letting me demo this pedal. And yeah, you should check one out. They're pretty awesome.